Man, that's got some clearing to do. It's gonna have to lager a little bit. Yeah, it'll clear up, but that's that's my imperial nipple. My IPL, or like, is it a cold IPA? I don't know. Anyway, all right, guys. Smells just like it used to could. Got that real slight Sabro, a little bit of Citra. It smells good. It smells just like I remember it. And it's, I think the carbonation and stuff's a little bit, but this is the second pull on it. The second pint. The first pint I tossed because it was full of the line cleaner, sarsan in the line, and also sediment that was on the bottom. But anyway, it's Tuesday night. Tomorrow's Homebrew Wednesday. Ow! Sit down, talk about that, and talk about a few other things. Not much. Let's talk about that. All right, so it's Tuesday night. So I brewed this the Friday before the holiday. So when I said I had COVID before the holiday weekend. And it was not a fun brew day. It was an easy brew day. Got a little bit of energy, and by the time of the day was over with, I was upset at myself for doing that to myself. But anyway, so it's about 8% and change. Doesn't taste like 8%. Carbonation's a little light. It's pretty nice on the tongue, but it's a little light. But probably the next pint, the head will probably be better on the next pint, and a little bit better on the pint after that. So yeah, I kegged that Sunday. One thing I'm having a lot of issue with transferring from the keg minter to the keg, and I think my biggest problem, I found out that really that these metal quick disconnects are fucking great. They are absolutely great. If you could find them at a reasonable price, or whatever you consider to be a reasonable price, a lot nicer. They work a lot better with those posts. It solved that problem. I didn't have to move the post kind of on, but kind of off that I spoke of earlier. So, but one thing is the line that you connect the two. Smaller diameter ID, the better it works. I wish I would have taken this video to kind of explain more, but I used some, I think it's some 3/16 ID, I think it is, so it's bigger ID than the quick disconnect shank. So it worked good for about a little over the first gallon of beer. But then the big air bubble got stuck in there, and you could barely see it trickling by. And I messed with it. I thought it was maybe the floating dip tube. Ended up being, I got aggravated, and I swapped out to a smaller ID rubber hose, right? Just a regular beer, what I would use for my CO2 line, airline. After that, it just no problems at all. It just kept going and going and going. But one thing I do have a problem with, I think my floating dip tube is, I think I've left too much length on it, because once it gets to a certain point, and it doesn't want to drain anymore, and it's almost got to be where the line has fallen down like into the beer and it's touching the bottom of the keg minter, and the floating part is kind of wedged itself against a wall or somewhere where it can't draw anymore. So I'm thinking I'm going to cut it so that once it's hanging in place, that I probably have maybe an inch or so of contact with the bottom of the keg minter, and we'll go from there. But I think other than that, everything works great. So yeah, that's my biggest gripe right now. One thing, my fermentation fridge actually got down to 40 degrees. which that usually never happens. Never ever happens. I was absolutely dumbfounded. Because what I did, so I started Cold Crash I think I said last Tuesday or Wednesday. I did saw last week's video, but anyway, I let that cold crash and I stepped it down. Initially I dropped it to 50, and it got down to 50. So I was like, well, fuck, let's see if it'll go any lower, and it ended up going a little bit lower. So then I said, well, fuck it, let's stick it to 40, and it did it. But anyway, Friday morning, early Friday morning, about a little after 6 o'clock in the morning, I went ahead and I came down here and I dry hopped with 3 ounces of Sabro, 3 ounces of Citra. So this beer is, in the boil is Denali, which has a different name now. Ron Mexico, which has a different name now. And Citra, which still has the same name. I'm sure it had a different name at some point in its life. But then the dry hop is Citra and Sabra, Ron Mexico. But yeah, it's a crusher. You can tell there's something different about it. And I think that's just the maltiness, because it is an 8% beer opposed to a 6.5-ish beer. So anyway, I mean that's a lot for me to talk about. I love to talk about stuff. Yeah, one thing. I guess let me pause and I'll go get some graphical stuff. All right, so the Perlix that I have, I've gone into why I was having some leaking issues. So what I did is I couldn't exactly remember part number. I couldn't exactly remember what model I have of Perlix, right? So I just went on More Beer, and I got these dudes. That's the More Beer number, D1218FS-4, and these are a lot. The cross section on these O-rings are a lot more than what I have. But man, these things, when they stop, and you can really feel how well it stops the flow. But anyway, little things make me happy. Yeah, that's it, guys. I think that's the whole of it. Probably just go ahead and end it there. So yeah, cheers, peace out.